not as obvious as we had hoped for everyone. So what we're going to do today in this session is give you a little remote tour of the NOC. And also, if anyone's interested in a more in-depth visit, we can certainly run folks over there, myself, Brandon. We've got some of our staff in the NOC here in this session right now, so we're happy to show you whatever we can. We'll be able to do a lot remotely, though. We have a little bot, or HalBot as we call him in the NOC, that is set up for us to be able to spin around the room and show you things. Certainly the folks here who are representing the service desk can give you a lot of in-depth information. I'll introduce myself for those of you who don't know me. I'm Marianne Chitwood, and I'm the director of the Global NOC Service Desk. We run the GMOC for GENI right now. I've got several members of my team here. Brandon Beal is the manager of the service desk. Marita Ward, Corey Donovan, and Jeremy Oakes here are all specialized support technicians within the service desk. Actually, Marita's the lead. But anyway, Jeremy is our specialized support technician for GMOC. And so he's the one who has the most in-depth understanding of the operation support that we provide to the GENI, and he's the point person for the other staff in the service desk to come to when they have questions or we need to update documentation, things of that nature. He also leads the weekly operations, or is it weekly or bi-weekly operations calls with the GMOC or for the GMOC. So anyway, Jeremy is our point person for that. So I'm gonna, again, welcome you to Bloomington. I hope you've enjoyed your stay so far. And that the rest of your visit is nice as well. It's a perfect time to be in Bloomington. It's beautiful here right now. We've got some sunshine and good weather, good crisp fall weather for you. So anyway, I'm going to turn it over to Jeremy.
Thanks, Ryan. Hi, everybody. So yeah, I'm Jeremy Oakes, and I've been with Global NOC for a while, but I've been with specifically GMOC for a shorter while. I had worked with Internet 2 previously, so I was familiar with some SDN and OpenFlow, kind of as like an abstract. And like I was familiar with GMOC and how to support GMOC from a networking perspective, but I really never understood it. It was just kind of this obfuscated thing that I didn't really know. I knew there were experiments and things that happened. So it was really cool last night to be able to go and see some of the presentations and have some of the experimenters explain what they were doing. In a way that someone who doesn't have that in-depth knowledge can really grasp what they're doing. So it was really cool to be able to see that, and I really look forward to some of the next presentations next time. I just have a few things to run through here, and then we'll go to the tour. One of the first updates we have since last GEC was a new experimenters list that was rolled out. That's going to allow experimenters to add themselves directly to the notification list, or remove themselves if they no longer want to be part of that. And then we've updated some NOC metrics from the service desk, and then we'll do the NOC file remote tour last. Okay, one of the things that we do is we provide the LLR for the legal law enforcement regulatory. Basically, it's in case any unscrupulous activity occurs or anything that shouldn't be happening on the network, we're notified. We have a standardized process to handle inquiries with the digital millennium copyrights, downloads, and then any law enforcement.
So we have a few people here who are actually from other sites.
Okay.
So you might say, how would they interact with that?
Right. So basically, if we were to receive a notification from someone, we'll contact that site and we'll attempt to get in touch with that site's contact. And the reason we want to do that is we want to try and isolate whatever resource is the offending resource at the lowest level possible. Or I should say, yeah, to create the least amount of impact. That way we don't have to take the entire rack down or isolate the entire rack or possibly even the entire site, but basically Internet 2. So for that reason, we want to make sure that we're ensuring we have emergency stop contacts for all our sites, so that we don't have to go with that extreme procedure.
And I think one thing to note is when we're turning up a new rack or a new site, we're gathering all the emergency stop contact information as a part of that turn up process so that we're prepared in the service desk, both from the LLR perspective and the emergency stop perspective to make those contacts and get things moving quickly when we have an incident.
Yeah, and so we'll try and update that information on a periodic basis, but if there's a change that takes place in your organization that you're aware of, maybe tie a string around your finger to let us know if there's a change in contact.
Okay, and I know there were some updates with rack and data submissions, and sorry, I lost my notes on that. Outage maintenance and story notifications. We've updated that process, so we're continuing to get more details on outage notifications and maintenances so that we can be more specific and clear to each of the sites rather than just in operations. Okay, here's some of our ticketing metrics. You'll see the last years were in gray, and we had this upward trend as we were turning up more and more racks, high frequency. And as the project has started to near completion for all the rack turnouts, you can see this year that was the trend that was expected. So as we made our progress, the majority of these are all rack turnout tickets. A few of these are maintenance tickets and other things within the aggregate. Okay. And some things that we're looking to keep continuing to improve on. Like I said, we're looking into improving notifications based on some feedback that I received yesterday. I think we're trying to get more tailored notifications to see how we can operate that for all the sites. All right. Looking at modeling circuits and nodes more accurately in the GMOC DB as that information becomes available. And then working to get more proactive, be more proactive in ops monitoring and alerting, as opposed to just doing our normal processes, so using our knock monitoring tools, reporting upon something when it happens. And then part of the notification process is tracking outages of regional sites and then other dynamic VLAN service providers through Internet to an ION, and then making that as clear as possible as to what events are occurring and periodic updates being timely. Okay, so here's the fun part. We're going to go ahead and do a virtual tour with our knockbot.
So while you're switching over to that, we have a robot in both the Bloomington location and the Indianapolis NOC. And so other than the fact that it's really cool, we actually use it a fair amount because we have people that work remotely on a scheduled and daily basis. And so what we found, like when we were working a large event, like a fiber cut or something along those lines, is that when people start to collaborate on an issue like that, they tend to crowd in one corner of the room or around the person's desk, whoever's taking point on working a particular issue. And so when the people were working remotely, what we used to have was, well, and still have, is just an all-in-one PC with video that sat on top of our furniture. But the person would perhaps be across the room, wouldn't be able to hear or engage if they were working the issue. And so there was a phone bridge and there's stuff lost there, and if people move, you know, it's hanging up the phone. And so when we were at Supercomputing about a year and a half ago, they were doing a robot demo there. And so that kind of sparked some ideas like, hey, wouldn't it be cool to have a robot with two-way audio and video? And then come to find out there was a commercial product that we were able to get and source. And it's proven extremely valuable in the situation that I was talking about, where the remote workers can log on and instead of calling someone, they just get on the robot and wheel over to them. And so now not only is it the remote workers, but we find we're using it between the two NOCs. So if you need to talk to someone instead of calling them, it's just as easy to get onto a web browser. You drive it with the up, down, left, right keys. I mean, if you played like the most basic Space Invaders on your computer, you can drive this thing. So it's worked out really well, become a very integral part of our daily operations. So we're connected to Bloomington now. Go ahead, Jeremy. You do a little talking there, and there is a dead spot in the wireless, unfortunately, in our knock there, which may have been what just happened there.
Or I tried to make it jump. Let's see here.
I'll talk, while he's getting that moved around the room too, I'll talk for a minute about our facilities. So since some of you didn't get to see that last night, we run two fully redundant NOC facilities, one here in Bloomington, the other in Indianapolis on the IUPUI campus. Our Indianapolis campus is our 24/7 facility. We staff that 24/7, 365. A few years ago, we realized the need to have a backup facility. If we lost Indianapolis, what will we do? And that's when at the CIB building where we hosted the demo night last night was being built, and so we had space carved out for our second facility. We don't staff Bloomington 24/7 typically. As our needs grow, we will be able to. You can run the full suite of tools and operations out of either facility, as well as Brandon mentioned, remotely. So looks like Jeremy's got Adam over at the CIB building in Bloomington up now, so I'll let you take it over.
Hey, this is Adam Williamson. He's a supervisor for me, and he's also part of the GMOD support.
Hi, everyone. So like Jimmy said, I'm the supervisor here for the research focus team, which GMOD falls under. As Brandon was saying about the knockbots and how we communicate here, the knockbots are very functional for us. It adds a element of us interacting with someone, as opposed to just seeing them in a conference call or a phone call, which we have that ability available to us. We have a lot of tools for communication. We also have a persistent video bridge between the two locations. That video bridge is designed to provide us with the ability to see both locations. We also use that video bridge in disaster recovery situations as a meeting place. Per se, I have to.
Great.
We can join the video bridge and still see our people, and we're able to communicate with them through the video session. One of the things I have heard from talking to people giving tours last night and other GPCs is, what do we do here in the GMOD in a day-to-day position? And I'm going to do a screen share with Jeremy here, and I'm going to pop it up on the big screen. And we're going to just kind of walk through what we do here, with ticket creation and some of the tools we use. And kind of give everybody a good idea of what we do here, because what we do for GENI is unique in our model of the local audience. It's exciting and it's different, and we really enjoy doing it. It's a daily challenge for me and Jeremy to keep up and make sure we're giving the best support and we're staying on top of a new technology. So I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen, and Jeremy can pop it up there for you.
So while they're doing that, what's it like when you're in the knock and the robot comes driving up behind you? You just like.
It got a little creepy at first because you can't hear it. So if you don't see it, you turn around and you see someone standing behind you. So it's just as equally creepy as someone sneaking up behind you.
I would walk right into it if I'm.
I need to get one for my house.
It's typically a pretty controlled roll, but occasionally it's taken off on its own. Once I think it took off on its own across the room. The engineers have one in their area as well.
The lifeblood of any operations is going to be its ticketing system, and we're no different here. We use a ticketing system that's called Footprints. We are able to customize footprints in a way that's very beneficial to us. We have a lot of in-house tool sets that are designed to take advantage of footprints for us. What we're seeing here is just kind of an overview of that ticketing system.
So you can see,
Hey,
can you hear me?
Brandon, can you kill the mic on that?
Adam, can you hear me?
Right. Yeah, I can hear you.
So, yeah, as you can see on the footprints queue here, there's, you know, tabs for what the next action is, who it's assigned to, the status of the ticket, the customer impact is where we kind of classify the severity of the ticket. So whether it's something that's just a normal request that, you know, we have a time frame in which those are responded to versus something that's elevated, or if it was a backbone outage affecting GENI, it would be marked as critical, I assume. So those all receive, you know, different levels of attention based on the severity of an issue. I'll flip it over to you, Adam. You can go ahead with what you were going to talk about.
So that goes right along with what I was going to be saying here is we have all these fields that are very beneficial to us. And one of the things I was going to do is kind of show you, we have an email client it's just a basic email client, and that's one of the ways we react to things. Well, this morning we received an email saying that GENI was going to need to use their maintenance window this coming Friday. So what I did is every few months we create a bunch of GENI windows for maintenances in our ticketing system, and GENI can use them or not. It happens every Friday night between 10 and 11 p.m. Eastern. So what I would do is I click on this other thing. This is what a ticket looks like when we go to edit it. We have our ticket titling system here. We can assign us or other groups in the assignees field. In this case, we have Lee Stoller listed as the contact as she's the one who is initiating this. I put the email into the ticketing system, and then if this wasn't a regular schedule, I would go in and edit some of these fields down here, which is the actual maintenance window field times and what our next action would be, as well as putting a summary of current status. And summary of current status is a field we use for the text in our notification tool. So whatever you may see coming across from us in our notification tool is coming from this field in footprints. And that's kind of a theme we have is a lot of our tools, because footprints and the ticketing system is the foundation of our tool set. We don't want to replicate work. So for efficiency, we pull the information from our ticketing system. And so once this is done, I can click save here.
Hey, Adam.
Yep.
Sorry to interrupt. We're still seeing the footprints homepage.
Oh. Okay.
Let me see if we can refresh that share.
Yeah, I'll stop and redo it.
Are you on a different screen, possibly? We were just seeing the homepage.
Nope. Are you seeing it now?
Just you. Hold on.
Just me?
Oh, there's a delay. One moment.
Oh, okay. There's probably not a whole delay.
I'm not seeing anything on the share for mock at night.
Yeah.
Now, this is the mock at night.
Security.
How about now?
Black as midnight.
Yeah, nothing, unfortunately. We're trying to
Okay, here.
the footprints page, the active page he was on.
Why don't you just go ahead, Adam, and describe it?
Yep.
And we'll ask everyone on this end to close their eyes and envision it.
So all I do is edit a ticket, and all of those fields are then either text fields or drop-down fields like that. I inserted the email into the ticket, and I click save. Once that's saved, I can go to our notification tool. Our notification tool is a tool that will pull from our SOCs, our ticket title, and craft a notification so that we aren't manually crafting a maintenance notification to go out. We can go in, click on the ticket, and it will pull all that information up for us. And then we can preview that notification. And when we go to preview notification, this is where the experimenter list that Jeremy was talking about earlier comes into play. As we're trying to get better, more precise notifications out, we created a new experimenters list that experimenters can opt in and opt out of. That allows them to only see issues that are relevant to them. We also have an operations list that is a general list that all notifications, outages, maintenances go to. And in this case, Instant GENI says there are no experimental resources that will be affected, so we won't actually be sending to the experimenters list, but we will be sending to the operations list. So
I want to have context for those in the slides.
yep, I can select just the operations list, and then that whole notification is going out. It tells me the progress. It tells me if there's also a problem with that notification. And those who are on the operations list should be getting an email in the next 5 to 10 minutes saying there's going to be an Instant GENI various maintenance coming up here this Friday. Another thing that this does is we have an operations calendar, and that will have a link at the end of Jeremy's presentation there to where you can go out and find this operations calendar. And when you go out there, it will show you, depending on what you select, but you can select all of you, and you will be able to see all the maintenances and outages that are currently going on within the GENI meta operation realm. So we currently, of course, have a maintenance freeze going on, so there's not too many. We have a resource reservation, and you will also see, if you click on Friday, you will see the maintenance that I just created will appear there, and it's visible for everybody. And that pulls directly from Footprints. You can click on anything there, and it will bring up a little pop-up view that shows you what the maintenance, a brief description of what that is, pulling from the ticket. In case anybody's ever wondering, you know, what is this maintenance? What does this really mean? We have some information available for you there. One of the things that we do here to help organize our day-to-day operations is one of our in-house tools is called TickMon. This is a web interface that shows us, it pulls directly from our Footprint system, and it shows us the current tickets we have to do and future tickets that are coming up. It pulls from those Footprints fields that we were talking about earlier and displays the ticket number, which project it is, what's the customer status, the priority, and the ticket title, what our next action item is, and what time we're supposed to be doing it. This really helps us plan out our day when we see things coming in. If a GENI experimenter or operations piece, an aggregate manager, or rack, submits a trouble ticket to us through the web interface, it will come into this ticketing system, and it will be purple. We will know we need to get an immediate action on it here, not just relying on email. A lot of our themes here are redundancy. We have multiple methods of seeing something. So we will receive an email, we'll receive it in TickMon, we'll receive a ticket on it. So there's 3 areas we will see something, so we're not missing anything that's coming in.
Let me jump in here real quick, Adam. So not only is the individual who's assigned to the ticket going to see this in their view, Marita, who's a lead technician in our group, we have one for each shift. It's really their responsibility to keep tabs on this screen here. So anything that's coming up in purple, they're looking at who that ticket's assigned to and saying, hey, need to get moving on that action. So we have multiple checks and balances to ensure that we're following through on tickets as they come up for review.
And that's how we deal with tickets and maintenances, you know, things are schedule known, but how do we work with things that are not unknown, you know, outages and things like that. So we have a GUI, so all monitoring in the global NOC is done via Nagios, which I think most people are familiar with, but it's basically a backend system that keeps track of, and you can set up pings and other sorts of communication with devices to tell you the status of it. You can monitor for certain alerts, you can exclude others, and our system seems to build the GUI front end for that, because as we've grown over the years, we have 28 plus projects. It's kind of hard to triage and see what's going on looking at a screen of a command line output. So we have this stuff in a GUI form, so it will blow up in red and tell us what device is alerting, what's alerting, when it started. And then this is also linked to our ticketing system, so once we get a ticket created, we'll acknowledge it and we move it off the board. We know it's being addressed. It's a great method for us to help sort as outages are incoming to the network operations center. And even though for GENI we're not actively monitoring anything right now, we do via Internet 2, because Internet 2 provides open flow and flow visors for the GENI network. So one of the things Jeremy and I do is we have a tab that's open monitoring the main instance of Nagios that has those hosts that the GR NOC supports through Internet 2, and we can see when those devices go down, when they're alarming, when they're having problems, and then we can proactively create tickets on it.
So as we can see right now, Adam, we actually have some unrelated to GMOC but Internet 2 alarms.
And so I was going to mention here, so in addition to watching TickMon, the leads also watch AlertMon to ensure that alarms are getting acknowledged. There's multiple checks and balances here. So we have a recently deployed tool that we call HUMON. You'll notice we like to put MON at the end of everything. And so anyway, HUMON is LED lights where the hue can be adjusted within the LED light. And then there's a set of rules that we have developed that follow essentially our workflow, which is the individual technician is going to see HUMON fire at a certain point. The lead will see it fire at a certain point, and then the supervisors have them sitting on their desk. It's very small, but we actually have one right, and it just went away as soon as I said that. I'm connected via the video bridge here, but at any rate, you see a flashing light and it flashes on the person's desk. So it's almost like a method of escalation for the alarm. So once they go past a certain point, we're escalating to the next person to say, hey, there needs to be action on this particular alarm to ensure that nothing's slipping through the cracks. One of the big advantages of AlertMon that we've developed internally is that it's streamlined with the other tools. So instead of us having to take this alarm information on the alarm that's up on the board here, we can actually click on the node, which will pull the information out of Nagios, which will allow us to see the original alarm. And when we go to acknowledge that, the way to acknowledge that is it will actually pull all of that information, the original alarm information, and pull it into a footprints ticket for us. So there's no copying and pasting. It's completely streamlined from one end to the other, which includes, I know Adam was talking a little bit about it, but the notification process, the ticket creation, everything is pulling information from one tool to the next. So we're not having to do any manual copying and pasting, which allows us to triage and move through the process that much faster. Thank you.
What do you do when you're getting alarms that are from things that you're not monitoring yourself and own yourself to get it into Nagios?
So what we can do is we can actually filter. That's what I was bringing up earlier. We can filter out based on focus groups. So, and that's something that the lead's got to handle. But I would focus on the research focus group, discard the rest. I would only have to look at those things. So basically, I can kind of take away everything else that's not related to what I'm doing. Which is really nice to have that customizable view.
So just to explain focus teams real quick, that it's really just an organizational structure that allowed us, as we grew, we found that having a frontline technician, have an expectation of them to be able to understand and be proficient on 15, 16, 17 as it continued to grow networks was just unrealistic, right? And so every time they'd work a ticket, you lose that working knowledge as they, it just wasn't scaling very well. So we aligned into 4 focus teams, which took networks that have similar types of work and lumped them together. And so GENI falls in the research network, and the work that we do on other networks is very similar in the research focus team. So that's why we align that way. And as Jeremy was showing, we can customize our views to just the focus team that we're on.
And as Brandon talked about how we can, pull data from the database that automatically is fed into tickets and things. The goal of the staff and the service desk is when we see an alert up in AlertMon, and oftentimes one problem can trigger, a whole screen full of alerts, is for the staff there to be able to, one, triage as quickly as possible and get tickets created and routed to the next level of resolution as quickly as possible. So whatever we can do to automate things is what we're trying to do, and whatever we can do to minimize the opportunity for human error is important for us as well. So that's why we've tried to link these systems as tightly as we can and rely on one another so that we're minimizing that human error factor.
Quick question. Is there any event correlation so that when something happened, like the first day of school, traffic spiked up and somebody go in and say that it's all YouTube and go in and modify the flow to reroute traffic? Just as an example.
So yeah, like when iOS was released, that's typically done on like an individual network owner basis. But when we become aware of that, we'll begin the specialized support technicians. They're really the liaison between us and the network that we're supporting. So the specialized support technician would reach out to the network owner or contact there and say, hey, we're aware iOS, whatever the most recent version is dropping tomorrow. Is there anything we should do? So it really depends on the arrangement with the network engineering team. But we certainly stay aware of those things. One of the tools that we use to grab information from, and so this is one of those softer types of issues. It's not going to manifest until something has already happened, right? So we have a Twitter feed in both NOCs, and so we're continue to tune and tweak that. But that's a really good source of information because then we see things like iOS 8's dropping tomorrow, or if let's say a peer drops, right, or they're having issues. That's some information that we'd like to see and be aware of. So just another source of information. We have many of them, but yeah, absolutely, that's something that we're watching for.
Okay. Adam, do you have anything else?
Yeah, so
Sorry.
one of the other tools that the Global Knox team provides us is the Snap tool. I'm not sure if you can see my screen, but if you can, I'm currently looking at the Internet 2 foam and flow visor state on Snap. And this tool allows us to have a graphical representation of if the flow visor is up or down and if it has peaks and valleys and what's going on with it. So a lot of the times as part of communication, me and Jeremy are both logged into chat rooms where with the GENI and BBN to talk to Tim Upthegrow, Ollie Sidney, and anyone else who's in there, and they might say, hey, I'm seeing something going on with Snap or with the flow visor, can you check it out? One of the things we will do is we will go out to the Snap graph and take a look and see what we see with the flow visor. And Snap graph is really good because we can look at trends. If we can drill down to anything in the last hour, the last day, the last week, the last month, to see what's going on with this is another way to try and be proactive and see what's going on with GENI and flows as far as from the I2 side. We don't have any visibility to any other flow visors, but it allows us great visibility to help troubleshoot and see what's going on with them and help anything that's going on with BB and GPO folks that they're trying to troubleshoot on their end to direct it towards the appropriate group. We've eliminated a lot of times that it's no longer we know it's not Internet 2 because we can go out through our tool set and check, hey, it doesn't look like there's a thing with I2, and then they can start directing that towards InstaGenie, ExoGenie, to the Max Gigapop aggregate manager and other aggregate managers on the networks. And it really helps us troubleshoot and identify what's going on. We also have the GMOC database, which I think Marianne was talking about, rack turnups, aggregates, regionals, in our turnup process. That's where all that information lies, and that's the end goal of those turnups is to get that information in the database. We have emergency stop contact information for when we have to isolate something from the network. Each rack, aggregate manager, and regional report information directly to that through an automated process. And when we're turning up rack and regional, that is what we're doing. We're adding, make sure the organization is in there, the emergency stop contacts, our system team is making sure that the incoming flows are represented in the database and sending it out to here so that BBN and other people can use that information. We're reporting on it and anybody can see what's going on. We can see states of the resources, the aggregate slices, pops. We can go down to slivers in some cases. And it's a great tool for us to be able to see and have. And then some of the tools that are provided to us by BBN, they've given us access to their Nagio system and their core, status of their core, that we can go out and see. It's not a definitive way for us to say something's up or down, but it gives us an idea of where to start. Absolutely, just shout them out and I will pull back and answer any questions people might have.
Yeah, thanks, Adam. I just want to go ahead and pull up GMOC DB and share that here as I'm searching through. We got all this worked out this morning. So this is, as Adam was talking about, so the GMOC DB. So we have the ability to search through by organizations, contacts, ops, and slices, aggregates, and resources. Again, this kind of comes back to being able to find those people that we need to contact in those critical events, such as like the LLR events or any kind of emergency stop procedure. This is all the information that we standard that we collect during the turnout process.
I also shared with Jeremy the link to the status of core connectivity. This is follows the backbones that GENI uses for InstaGenie for the VLANs that are out there, and they let up these snaps at a glance of what's going on. And it also, if you can see, it shows the I2 or the Internet 2 VLANs that it goes over also.
Yeah, so this is for the mesoscale, and this is actually being replaced with the new monitoring software. But for people like Brecht or other people who do their own monitoring, if you want to submit stuff like that through GENI monitoring so that we can have the NOC watching that and acting on it, we can do that with the new monitoring design. Whereas before it was like partly GMOC, partly Nagios, partly scripts in between, and so hopefully it'll be interesting for you guys too.
Okay, and the last thing we kind of have to go over, and I'm sending Jeremy a link there as we're having problems sharing, is we want to make sure everybody knows how to contact us and the ways in which you can contact us. So we have on the GMOC webpage, which is gmoc@grnoc.iu.edu, we have a support section. In that support section, you can see the public viewable portion of all of these tools. You can come here and you can look at our customer impact guidelines. So if you receive a ticket and you see that it's set at customer impact 3, you will be able to see what that means to you. You can report a problem that will submit a ticket to us, and we'll be able to take action on it. You can view tickets publicly there, as well as you can also view the operations calendar. And there's also a link to our bi-weekly reports. And this is we do bi-weekly reports on all of our all of our tickets, I should say, and provide statistics on uptimes and valuable information, what went down in the last 2 weeks, and we report on them and talk about them every 2 weeks with Heidi and the rest of the group.
Information request. Thank you,
Any
Adam.
further questions?
Okay, looks like we're right at the end of our time here. I'd like to go ahead and put up our information here for contact. So email, the URL that Adam provided, our phone number. You can subscribe to our calendars for operations. This includes maintenance, outages, and other events there through the web calendar or RSS feed. And we also have the experimenters list as I described here. You can have yourself added to that as an experimenter if you're interested.
Great. And the slides will be on the wiki page eventually.
Absolutely.
Yes, I'll get those posted shortly.
Okay. In case people are like, oh, I remember seeing that, but I don't know what the URL is.
And also, I'll be available here all day. If anyone has any questions, definitely don't hesitate. If you see me, feel free to come talk. Thank you all.
So I was, if I can find the right video connector here,
Each team on?
there we are. I was gonna, go ahead, Mary.
Yeah, Brandon's gonna show a picture, actually a live link between us here and the Indianapolis NOC as well. It's a good, for those who weren't able to, are interested in our Indianapolis facility, here we are.
And so we're connected. We have the live persistent video bridge between the two NOCs. This is in addition to the robot. And so they use this often for communication like at shift turnover. So the focus teams don't split geographically, or rather I should say they do split geographically. So we might have someone who's assigned to the GMOC working in Indianapolis who's giving turnover to someone working in Bloomington. And so the video process is the quickest way to do that. Also, in the event of an emergency situation, this allows us to communicate and coordinate much more quickly. Where the remote workers, everyone can sign on to the same bridge and we can talk and see one another. So yeah, anyway, we saw a little bit of the Bloomington knock, which is down here, and then the Indianapolis knock here. So we've got 12 seats up in Indianapolis, 7 in Bloomington. We're getting ready to expand in Indianapolis to 16 or 18, depending on how many stations we can fit. So just want to show you that real quickly. You guys have any other questions, comments before we wrap up?
All ready for lunch? Great,
Thanks for coming.
thank you.
It's great to
Thank you
have
very
and host you guys.
Last night, I said